Did the US government really just announce its intention to start taxing everyone who has crypto holdings above $500,000 USD at the rate of 1% a year? Welcome back, everyone. Hope that you had a great having weekend. So a lot of us on Monday morning, we saw a flurry of tweets, all of them retweeting this supposed legitimate document, right? So here's a tweet from the Bitcoin Energy Summit breaking. Elizabeth Warren proposes a 1% wealth tax on any crypto holdings over 500K. And, a quick scroll here, you see it's the United States Senate. All right, the letterhead looks okay. Everything looks good. Up until you get to the bottom of the page. Then all of a sudden it just gets a little bit strange, because that's not how you spell Elizabeth. So if you go take a look at Elizabeth Warren's Twitter, even she doesn't spell it this way. So that's probably the first red flag. And of course, shout out to Pleditor, who actually takes the time to dive into these things. Totally unsurprising, right? FYI, this is fake news. And I have to be honest, the second that I read that headline about them coming after that, I kind of just assumed that it was fake. And of course, it's so believable because it comes from Elizabeth Warren, or seemed to come from her. I did a little bit of research this morning, just taking a look to see what articles had been released relating to this, and there was absolutely nothing. The last article that came out was from 2023, and it actually had nothing to do with taxing the crypto holdings. Really what it had to do was implementing more stringent regulations for the crypto space. And that is the only last piece of confirmed legitimate information that came out. So it's a nice narrative, right? It's part of the gaslighting, it's part of the FUD. If you haven't been in this space for very long, you know that unfortunately faked documents like this are not unusual. I can tell you, here we go. Now I'm just going to sound ancient again, but when I first got into this space, I saw a lot of documents like this. This wasn't unusual. I saw all kinds of fake stuff like this. And I used to fall for it all the time. I was like, oh, that's it. We're done. I've told this story many times before, but India was banning crypto, right? Banning Bitcoin. They were doing it every week. Okay? Like, you didn't know whether you should hold, whether you should buy, whether you should sell. If you were paying attention to the news, it didn't matter. You were just broke. You were being fleeced. There was no buy, sell, or hold. There was just you being broke, paying attention to these FUD articles. So yeah, the other piece I wanted to say about this kind of has to do with those of us that do report on this information. Now, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and sit on a fake high horse and be like, yeah, I've never made any of these mistakes. No, that's not true. I get had all the time. So it's not, it's no surprise there. But what we can do, right? What I can say is that oftentimes when I see these very, I guess you'd say it's very controversial gaslighting type of news, stuff like this, right? Stuff like this that essentially tells you, hey, look, the government's coming after everything you have and there's nothing you can do about it. I tend to wait. I'll do a little research. I'll go and look things up and see, is this actually an article that came out of a reputable source, that, any of these things. But I know that the draw to have clicks and views as soon as possible is really alluring. And of course, the way that we rationalize this type of behavior is to say, well, I'm building a business, I'm building a channel, and therefore I need to get as many eyeballs as I can. That isn't incorrect, but it's very short-term thinking, because I think that and again, it's not about necessarily building trust, but it's also about, I think, our own our own ethics and morals, maybe. Like, to me, it just seems much more reasonable that, if you want to be giving out information and you want to be, quote unquote, giving out news or opinion pieces, I think it helps to get multiple sides of the story. Like I don't think that immediate click and view rate is really worth it. I think in the long run, it ends up hurting you because essentially people pretty much know that they can't trust you. And I mean, don't get me wrong, everything should be trust minimized. But what happens is that when you do this over time, you create a pattern. And that pattern is called expectation setting. Okay. And it's very serious. Expectation setting is a very serious thing, especially in business, right? And especially when it comes to disseminating news and information. So, if you constantly create the expectation that everything you are talking about or everything that you are explaining is really just hype cycle information and you're not digging in, well, then that's what people are going to expect because you set that expectation. Anyways, yeah, none of us are perfect. We should all be really pleased that this news is fake. Unfortunately, it's unsurprising because Elizabeth Warren hates crypto, hates Bitcoin, loves KYC, AML regulations, but has no idea that they don't really work. So anyways, lucky us, this isn't real. Doesn't mean that they aren't going to try over and over again. And when I say they, I'm talking about the government. Guys, it's just a short clip for Monday. That does it for today. I am going to catch you all tomorrow.